Hi there, welcome back to my channel. It's James here. I hope you're doing okay. So I haven't done a plant haul. I haven't done a plant haul in a little while, mainly because I haven't really bought enough plants to warrant doing one sort of regularly. So what I've done here is I've kind of brought together the plants that I bought over the past couple of months. None of these are aroids, which is maybe shocking, but there are some cool Hoya and some really interesting plants. So if aroids are your jam, I challenge you to stick around and have a look at some of these, because there are some really cool plants outside of Araceae. 15 plants to go through. All interesting, all ones I'm currently learning about. So if you do have suggestions, please, as always, please stick them down in the comments below. I always go through and have a little look. This is kind of getting in the way, so I'm going to rotate. Oh, is that even more in the way? I don't know. We'll just leave him there. Hopefully that's not too annoying for everyone. So we're going to start with a plant that I never thought I would buy again. I had one of these. I had a huge one like 3 years ago at this point, I think. And it was just like massive, super strong, super, what's the word? Vigorous, that's the word. It was a really vigorous plant, but I've never been drawn to them at all. Then recently I was listening to the Plant Daddy podcast, which is super good. I really like the mix of like humor and knowledge in there. Amazing. So if you haven't listened to that, go and check it out. And they were talking about, in one of their previous videos, I went back a little while, they were talking about Tradescantia, and sort of going into some of the more interesting ones that you don't commonly see. And they spoke about Tradescantia TIANA, and I was like, oh, I'll just have a quick look, because you never know, it might be available. I found one of these for really cheap. I think it was about £2.50. And I just bought it because I was intrigued to see what it would do. So it is like very typical Tradescantia form. It's kind of that creeping, tumbling, crawling growth habit. It's very similar to the underside. It's got that purple, which is the same as like a lot of the other varieties. The one I had before was the Zebrina, which I really didn't like all that much, apart from the way it grew, the size of it, the vigor of it. Nothing else I really enjoyed. This one, I think the patterning on the leaves is really pretty and unusual, and I think that in itself is enough for me to want to have a go with it. I don't know how long it will last in my collection. I mean, I'm sure it's already grown like 2 leaves, so it's going to do well. But yeah, we'll see. I'm very intrigued by it at the moment, but we'll see how long that hangs around. It's beautiful. It's really beautiful. I would say if you love Tradescantia, or Tradescantia, I really don't know how to say it, Tradescantia, I'm assuming, go for one of these, because it's definitely, in my eyes, much more appealing than the more common, more available varieties. Go through, I've got 4 Hoya to talk about, and then we'll go into some Marcgravia and some Nepenthes. So if you're into like pitcher plants, hang around for that, because it's going to be nice. So the Hoya that I have, all of these came from the same seller, which is kind of nice. Really good seller in the UK, actually, for slightly unusual Hoya. It seems like every few months another prominent seller pops up until their stock runs out. So I don't know how long she'll have these cool plants for. I can't remember the name of the seller. I'll try and remember to put it in the description below. So this is one of the 4. I got these 2, so this and the next one I'm going to talk about first, and then the other ones I added on later. So this is a Hoya macrophylla by Boer. It's just another variant of the macrophylla. There are loads of them. There's the alba marginata, there's the pot of gold with the variegation to the inside of the leaf, and then there's just multiple different forms of the green. This one has streaks of variegation. I'll show you a little bit closer in a second. They kind of pass to either side of the midrib, so there are 2 lines. This is not a great example of it. I might pop up a picture of a slightly better, slightly more visibly variegated plant. But it's just really interesting. It's like you can hopefully see a little bit of the streaks of that variegation. It's a little bit splashy. It's got that typical macrophylla shape. I just think it's really pretty and extremely vigorous. It rooted very quickly in water, and I currently have it in pond, just doing a little bit more. And yeah, absolutely no complaints. Pond seems to be fantastic for Hoya. Very similar to perlite, except obviously you have the added fertilizer in there, so I feel like I can leave them more confidently in pond for just a little bit longer and still get some really good growth out of it. So the second one that I got for her at the same time was a Hoya PENINSULARIS. I think it used to be called the Spurperac teddy bear or something like that. It suffered a lot. I'm so impressed that this plant survived. It just shows how hardy this Hoya is. If I bring it closer, you should be able to see that all the way up to the node. So this lower part of the stem is completely rotted. This is the woody core of the stem. All of the living tissue to either side rotted off all the way up to the node, and it kind of stayed like that for probably 2 weeks. literally nothing, just not rotting any further. And then miraculously, these roots popped out from the half of the node that is left. So I think we've won. I think this is now a viable plant, or almost anyway. It's so pretty. It's got a lot of those, like, what are we thinking? Finlaysonii, kind of Callistophila. It's the Gunungading kind of thing, Gunungading. Oh, it's literally doesn't want to focus, but hopefully you get the idea. Really, really nice veining. There we go. Super impressed by this. I cannot wait until it puts out new growth, because I've wanted one for a really long time, and I was so sad at the prospect of it dying. Also, shocking little update. I've been absolutely enthralled by Hoya blooms recently. A lot of my Hoya have been putting out peduncles and blooming recently, and it's like a whole different dimension to them that I knew was coming and I've experienced before, but for some reason this time it's like captured my soul and I'm really, really into it. So I think I'm now no longer just looking for Hoya for foliage, because as you will see from these, a lot of the Hoya in my collection I have for foliage. I am now kind of like, I want some cool flowers. Next to, from the same seller, I got a little bit later on. I was only supposed to get one plant, but she accidentally sent me a little bit extra, and she was like, you might as well hang on to it, because yeah, very, very sweet of her. So I'll start with the one that I got for free. So this first one, this is the one that she accidentally sent me, but she was lovely enough to let me keep. This is a Hoya lacunosa silver, or Hoya lacunosa splash. I think sometimes it's called Hoya lacunosa Eskimo as well. Yeah, it's lovely. It came as one stem, so one cutting, and I cut it into 4 parts before I realized it was a mistake. I thought it was like a little freebie, which it turned out to be in the end. Because it was looking a little bit limp, I think it got a bit cold in shipping, but it is now doing fantastically. And you can see that this cutting here and the one at the back here are actually putting out new growth. Again, it may not focus, but hopefully you can get an idea of the splash on that. It's really, really pretty. And seems to be carrying through quite well, because I've recently found with a couple of my other splashy Hoyas, like the Mathilde, that the splash, it has, even though I cut it again into full cuttings, it hasn't been carrying through very well. So I'm hoping this one will do a little bit better. But it's not one that I particularly wanted. It wasn't on my list or anything, but I'm really, really happy to have it. And I think, yeah, I'm excited to see what it does. I don't think I've talked about this in a video before. You might have seen it in my leaf update growtent tour. This is my Hoya Carnosa Grey Ghost, which is very in vogue at the moment. I would not have got it if it was too expensive. I think this was 50, including that little freebie. So in my eyes, that is not, it's expensive for a Hoya, but it's not overly expensive given the current sort of going rate for this one. So I'm kind of happy with that. Yeah, again, rooting in pond, it's actually doing incredibly well. You can see the roots are kind of moving down the side of the pond, having a little bit less of an issue with algae than I have with perlite, because it's not bright white. There's an algae issue. So at some point I will transfer this to a non-transparent pot with drainage, but probably keep it in pond because it's doing so well. Yeah, just the heavily splashed leaves. It's got quite an interesting texture. If you've never seen one before, it's not as smooth as I expected. It's kind of like a, I don't know, it's like a rough, furry texture, which is just lovely. Like very, very small hairs all over it. Very pretty. And yeah, I mean, there's not much to say about this. I think it is purely, for me, a foliage plant. I have multiple carnosas. I'm assuming that the blooms will be exactly the same as those. So yeah, it's definitely just for some silver leaf time. Let's go over some Marcgravia. So I'm a little bit bad at IDing these still. So there may be some hesitation as I go through. I know the 3 species that I have in here, but I'm not 100. I think I know. Yeah, I'm pretty confident. We'll see. I might be tripping over my words a little bit as we go through. So I bought these. These are still in the pot that they were shipped in. I bought these for a project that I haven't done yet. So they're kind of just hanging out in here until I have somewhere to put them. But they seem to be fine. They're actually actively growing. Obviously not as well as they would be if they had more space. But I just need to keep them alive until I have something to transplant them to. I probably should have waited, but I saw them available and I was like, no, now is the time. So the first one we're going to talk about, this is Marcgravia umbellata, I think. Yeah, the veins are the umbellata. So again, they're just cuttings, but they're rooting quite well down below. Really, really weird little plants. It's a little bit twisted because it's been stuffed in a box for like weeks. Focus here. There we go. There's some really nice veining on the leaves, like a little bit of silver patterning. Really, really nice. All of these are very different. They're quite similar in appearance to certain Hoya, I suppose, but they're much more compact. The leaves have a very different texture. They're more like soft and fleshy. They remind me more of the kind of plants that kind of grow in the UK or parts of Europe. Well, maybe not the UK, but just a little bit more like woody plants rather than these tropical plants. So this one, what is it called again? This is Marcgravia, sorry, Syntenesii. I can't take it out actually because it has rooted fully into the sphagnum. So I'll just show you this way, which maybe is a little bit better. Syntenesii, this is the one that has the really, really hot red, pinky new growth. It's faded a little bit now because it's been growing a lot more slowly in here. So presumably the new growth has had more time to kind of, yeah, transition through the colors. But if you have a little look at it online, it's got this same tone on the lower leaves, and then the leading leaves are kind of like a bright sunsetty orangey red, which is really, really nice. So I'm very excited about this one. The last one here is just a COLOMBIA, so I think it's unnamed, but it's got kind of toothed edges to the leaves. It's just very, very cute and like minute and interesting, and I'm excited once I have a space to grow them, to sort of see them fill in some space and like really get shingling. I was considering putting one of them on my moss walls, but I'm not sure how well they would do in that open, well, it's still in the grow tent, so the humidity would be very high, but I'm not sure. They seem to really enjoy like terrarium conditions, so that's where I'm keeping them for now. Okay, now we get to move on to Nepenthes, and this is where I'm super excited at the moment. It feels like Nepenthes are like drawing me in. They're speaking all kinds of languages to my soul, and I'm just so excited to grow more of them. So I'm just going to show you through 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 of the Nepenthes that I currently have. I do have a couple more common varieties, which I started with because I had Nepenthes a while ago, like when I was pretty small. And I killed them. So I wanted to get some common varieties and just see if I was missing something with the care, or whether it was just because I was generally careless with the plants that I had at that time. And I think that is the case because they have been super, super easy. And these slightly less common ones have also been just as easy. So with the grow tent, that is, I'm not sure how they would be in my open space. So we're going to go through them one by one, and I'll kind of talk about how the growth has been going. Oh, I'm so in love with them. Hopefully you like them as much. I know that these are kind of polarizing. I posted some on my Instagram recently, and people are just kind of like, what is that? Ooh. So this is, I'm still getting the hang of these Nepenthes names, so please, if you are a carnivorous plant person, forgive me. So this is an Aristolochioides crossed with an INERMIS. So a lot of these ones I have are hybrids. I think I only have 2 species plants. Is that right? Yeah, 2. Everything else is a hybrid. So this is a little hybrid Nepenthes. It has grown super duper well. So it came with the 2 pictures. That larger one here was not fully open, so this was, the top was just kind of lifting as I got it. And then this new picture here is fully formed with me, so the new leaf that it was on, and it's putting out some new growth there. And I think with the levels of humidity and light that I have, that it will be pretty consistent with the pictures that it puts out, because I hear that if the conditions aren't great, then they kind of miss pictures on the leaves. So this one is really interesting. The picture is like such a like interesting shape. It really does not want to focus today. I don't know why. Anyway, hopefully you get an idea of that. The colors, the shape, the textures, super, super interesting. So happy. This one is just a random little hybrid that was sent to me for free. It's lost a picture. I have no idea what it is. I can't read the label. The seller did put it in there. I haven't messaged him yet. I will do that. But that is kind of just like a Nepenthes. I don't really know what it is. This picture that's forming is too small yet to sort of see any characteristics. But I do know that it's a hybrid. No, but I do know that it's crossed with Robcanbii. I think that's how you say that. This is, let's read. This is a little bit of a complicated hybrid. So it is Nepenthes Robcanbii, which is the one I was just talking about there, which is crossed with a hybrid of Spectabilis and Aristolochioides. So there's a lot of stuff going into this Nepenthes, but it's no less exciting. Well, it's more exciting for that. This new picture is really, really, really cool. I think this is called the peristome. This, like I said, I'm still learning a lot about Nepenthes, so forgive me if I'm saying stuff wrong. But I really like when they have the striping on that part of the plant. It's just such an, like, They're beautiful. It's like the potential with Nepenthes is like having a flower with every single leaf, just how special they are. And there's also a significant change, similar as with aroid leaves, in like morphology of the pictures as they get more mature. So I'm kind of anticipating each picture being a surprise, a delightful surprise. And there's a new one forming there, so I don't have to wait too long. This is one of the more recent ones. I got this one this week. The other ones I've had for 3 or 4, maybe a little bit longer weeks. So they've had loads of time to kind of tell me if they're okay or not. Next hybrid, this is another larger one, and this is so pretty. This is another complex hybrid. This is Nepenthes vicii crossed with Lowii. So that was the first plant, and then it was hybridized with Robocantlii again, which seems to be quite a popular plant to hybridize with. I think I've seen mature plants of it, I'll show you in a second, and it's got a really, really big sort of shield-like peristome on some of the more mature pictures. So I think that's probably a characteristic that people want to carry across. But yeah, it's really, really interesting. Like really deep red. I love these little hairs on the pictures. I think they're super cute. The growth pattern for all of them is quite similar. The leaf shape seems to change, but I don't know how much of that is due to maturity. Some of them have really long kind of lanceolate leaves, and some of them have these more like chunky leaves like this one and the previous hybrid that I showed you. Yeah, really, really beautiful. Again with the candy cane patterning. It's got another little picture around here. Super, super nice. This one I really, really like. I saw it and I had a little Google stalk, a little Insta stalk, and I just really, really love it. I really like the deep, dark kind of colouring in the pictures. This is Nepenthes IZUMIAE or IZUMIAE, and it has, you can kind of see here, I think it's an aging thing, I will show you closer. This picture here, for example, is very, very dark. That is a dead one, so obviously it's dark. The new one is slightly brighter. I don't know whether that's to do with the light that I have in my grow tent or whether it just will darken as it ages. But then there's another one in there that's really, really dark, and it's super pretty. And as you can see, like I was saying before, this ones kind of have the longer, thinner leaves, which is very nice. So that is species number 1, that's Nepenthes IZUMIAE. And the second species I have, which I think is probably my only like rare Nepenthes. I don't know how. I have no concept of rarity within the Nepenthes world. These are literally just plants that I have found available on eBay. And the prices don't even tell me anything because I'm used to like aroid prices, which are insane. And you're looking at like thousands for a rare aroid at the moment. So I don't know what is rare and what isn't. This is a really interesting one. This is Nepenthes KLOSSII, I think. I know that that's the name, but I can't remember if I'm pronouncing it right. KLOSSII, I think. But yeah, this is very, very small Nepenthes. I love that it's growing in moss like that. And really, really interesting pictures. They're kind of, I'll put a picture up of try and put a picture up of some of the more mature pictures for the ones that I can find. They've got like a long picture and the opening is kind of slanted out to the side. It's really interesting. But yeah, that is my last Nepenthes. So just care-wise, I'm still learning a lot. Obviously, so far I'm just kind of treating them with similar disdain as I treat most of my plants, but with a little bit extra care. So I'm watering them with rainwater that at the moment I'm boiling, but I don't think that is necessary. I just want to make sure that as they settle in, nothing bad happens, and I also don't want to introduce anything weird into my grow tent. So yeah, that's what I'm doing. I'm not really fertilizing at the moment. I haven't fed them at all, although I have noticed that this one has been capturing what are they called? Springtails inside the pictures. I looked inside and there's like hundreds, it looks like hundreds, but many, many little springtail bodies floating around in the water. So it seems to be feeding itself, which is good. This is this one. And yeah, I'm very excited about Nepenthes. I will probably not do anything care-wise on them for a long time because there's a lot for me to learn. But if you do have tips, please pop them down below. And if you are also interested in Nepenthes, let me know because it's just so exciting. It's never ending. I was so like specifically into aroids and it's just exploded into this. This is how I used to collect as well. I never had like a specific family that was interested in aroids for the first time that I was like, oh, all of the plants that I want are aroids. But I used to just collect literally anything that caught my eye, and it feels like I'm kind of shifting back into that space, which is nice, but also problematic space-wise because some of these plants get big, like these. Yeah, thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed this. I hope it was vaguely interesting. If you have any questions, stick them down in the comments below. I will check them out when I can. If you have any suggestions, likewise. If you want to see updates on all of these plants, check out my Instagram at slugplants. I post there pretty regularly. And if you want to see more videos like this, subscribe to the channel, hit the like button, the bell icon if you want to as well. And I will see you very soon. Have a good day. Bye.